Hey guys, we are back working on my 1953 Monarch four-door sedan with a Flathead Ford V8. In the last video, we tried getting it going. You can see there's some ether sitting on the front bumper. I even tried that. And we're getting spark. We've got some compression, but it just will not fire up. I think we've got some sticking valves. We're going to have to pull some heads off and pull the intake off of it and get in there, clean things up. That's what we're going to take a crack at doing today. Thanks for watching. What we have here is a 1953 255 Mercury Flathead Ford V8. There's not externally a whole lot of difference between the Mercury and the Ford Flatheads of this vintage. 1953 was the last year for the Flathead Ford in the US, but 54 still had them in Canada, so one more year that this was used. Different carburetor in this one. They call this, I think, the teapot style. The float bowl is kind of suspended up above the rest of the carburetor here on the top. Kind of an odd design. We do have an automatic choke, thermostatically controlled, which is unusual. Most of the Ford Flatheads had a manual choke rather than this automatic one. Of course, this being a Canadian car, chokes are kind of important. It tends to get a little cold up here in the Great White North. In the last video, we ran compression on all the cylinders, and about the best cylinder was 50. Might not be a bad idea to run just another one, because I did put some oil down on the cylinders just to see if we've got any improvement, but I don't think we do. Let me get this thing kind of wired up, and we'll try turning it over, give it a little shot of ether just to show you guys what it's doing. I guess we may as well give this a try. We got some two-stroke fuel with the oil built in. This is True Fuel brand, not that that's anything really important. Dump a little down the float bowl. A little bit down the throat of the carburetor. I've got the ignition switch on inside, and we've got the Crank-O-Matic 50 here. Let's give it a try and see what happens. I don't know whether you guys can see it or not, but we have the spark checker hooked up here, and we are seeing that we've got spark happening. So ignition's working. I would say we're not building any compression. Now that we get two-stroke oil down the throat, I don't feel too bad about giving it just a little shot of ether to see what happens. With ether not firing that thing off, either we got holes in all 8 pistons or none of the valves are sealing. Let me grab the compression tester. We'll try a couple of cylinders on either side here just to see what they look like, but we did them all in the last video and they aren't doing much. I'll bring you back in a minute when I've got the compression tester ready. Okay, we're set up here. In an ideal world, to check compression, all 8 cylinders have to have the spark plugs taken out of them. Throttle has to be wide open, and the engine should be warm. We got all 8 spark plugs out. I can hold the throttle open, but there's no way we're getting this engine warm. I don't know if you guys can see the compression tester or not. Give it a shot of the Crank-O-Matic. So we're 60, 65 PSI. That is not enough to run. Now, is that worn rings, or is that a valve that's not sealed? I don't know. We'll have to take the heads off to figure that out. And based on the tests we did last time, that's about the best cylinder that we've got as well. The back one on this side, I think, is completely dead, meaning their valve's not sealing at all, or there's no piston. So let's let's get things adjusted here. I'll get some tools together and we'll start unbolting the head. Now the good news is I did buy a gasket set for this thing, so if we get it apart, get it all cleaned up and get it put back together again, we should be able to put new gaskets in it and have a functional engine. Let me get some stuff organized here and we'll rip it apart. I've got some things disconnected here. You have to take the hold down clamp for the distributor off when you're taking the head off. We've got a rad hose loose. We've got the coil bracket removed. I disconnected the heater hose. There was coolant in the heater hose, but there doesn't appear to be in the block. I opened the petcock on the radiator and nothing coming out. So hopefully the block is empty. We're basically ready to start buzzing these off, and the order that I'm going to do that is kind of the reverse of how you bolt these down. And when you're torquing them down, you start in the center and you work out, and when you're taking the head off to give it the best chance of staying flat, you start at the ends and work towards the center. Not really room for you guys to be in here while I'm doing that. I'm going to try putting a ratchet on a couple of them and see how they are. If they're not terribly stuck, then I'll just buzz them out with the impact. If they are going to be difficult to take out like the 53 Ford pickup truck was, then I'm going to use a breaker bar and just kind of work them back and forth, because the last thing we want to do is break off one of those bolts in the block. That takes this from being a relatively simple task to being a bit of a nightmare. Let me get going on taking those off. I'll bring you guys back when we're ready to lift this head off. We'll see what we've got to work with underneath. Well, we had one stinker, this one right here, and looking at the tip of the bolt, it almost looks like that might go down into the exhaust passage. So that's likely why it was a little bit difficult to get out. The rest of them came out no problem. We've got them all out. Basically, we're ready to pop this thing off. One nice thing about the Flathead Ford V8 is because the exhaust is in the block, we don't have to worry about disconnecting the exhaust to pull the head off. And even the intake isn't all that difficult to get off of there. We've got this throttle mechanism that we'll have to sort out if we're going to go so far to pull the intake off of there. But for now, let's see what the heads look like. It's almost tempting to take the whole top end off this and pop those valves out of there and give them a quick polish. Let's see what we've got to work with before we get too carried away making fancy plans. I can see one thing we're going to have difficulty with is the ignition wire here going to the coil, as it's wrapped around the coolant hose. That's easy to take off. Let me grab a pry bar to pop the gasket loose and put you guys on a stand, and we'll take this thing off and see what we've got. Okay, the distributor being clamped down on top of the head is difficult. Well, let's take a look and see what we've got to work with here. Have to clean up all that crud around the top. Minimal ring ridge, that's a good sign. These valves look like they're closed. All three of these look like the valves are closing fine. Come on, get out of there, you little crud. Well, I think we need to run a vacuum over some things here, get it cleaned up so that we don't have garbage falling down into the down in the engine. But you know, that doesn't look terrible. Minimal ring ridge. I don't know why we wouldn't be sealing on the rings, unless they're just badly stuck. that's some crud that's just fallen in when we took things apart. Same with that. The lighting is just atrocious here today, and so I can't really see much. I can't imagine that you guys can either. You know, I'm not seeing anything terrible on these pistons, or on these valves up here, or on the pistons. That is stuck open. I need something a little more substantial than a screwdriver to tap on that valve. It may be legitimately open, although at the top of the stroke like that, I don't imagine it is. Oh, I guess it is. Well, let me grab the vacuum cleaner. We'll clean some of this garbage up around here. We'll scrub everything with a wire brush, clean it up as good as we can, and then we'll turn it over and see how it looks. But so far, I'm not seeing anything that I'm all that concerned about. Huh, why is it not making compression? Ew, a little bit of looseness in that piston. But as I say, the bores don't look bad. Like there's hardly a ring ridge there. Scrub at that with a bit of Scotch-Brite, and I bet you there's not really any ring ridge. Let me do a little bit of cleaning here. I would do a time lapse, but I don't think there's any way that with this lighting that you guys are going to see anything. So let me get at it, clean some stuff up here, and I'll bring you back and show you what I ended up with. Well, let's give a little update. Not done cleaning yet. I still got the back piston that I got to clean off, but it appears this thing has been bored over 30 thousandths. This valve has been replaced. It is not the same as the rest of the exhaust valves. It looks to me like somebody's been running 100 low lead in this, like avgas, I think. Or anyways, there was quite a heavy buildup of lead on the exhaust valves, and I'm wondering if that's maybe why we weren't getting good sealing. There's also a bunch of carbon and stuff, but after I clean it up, there's no ring ridge. This thing has not got very many hours, or got very many miles on it after it was rebuilt, so that's a good sign. I did, however, unfortunately there's a shadow over it, but it appears there's been some detonation or something going on this piston. It's a little rough here at the bottom, and kind of a little pitted here at the front as well. I'm going to take some sandpaper and try and smooth that out. We'll also take a look at the head for that cylinder and see if we can see anything. But, you know, that's what the piston, how well that shows up for you guys. That's what the piston looked like before we cleaned it up, and a little bit of scrubbing, you know, Scotch-Brite, wire brush in a drill, that kind of thing. Doesn't take too long to get it basically stripped down to the bare metal. I'm hoping if I take a little bit of Scotch-Brite in behind the exhaust valves, that I'll be able to clean off any lead that's built up on those seats. I'm wondering if that might be why we're having issues with sealing and not building any compression. But certainly, I'm not seeing anything here that is going to prevent us from running this engine. I don't think, anyways. Well, let me continue with the cleaning process here. Get this all dialed in. You know, yeah, pretty much zero ring ridge. There's a little bit of carbon around the edge of this front one because I haven't cleaned it off yet. But you know, it is coming very nice, and we'll get this cleaned up as good as we can, get the other side done, and we'll see if this thing's going to make some noise. Well, let me continue cleaning. I'll bring you guys back when I have something to show you. I've pretty well got it cleaned up. I took Scotch-Brite, worked it in behind all the valves, kind of scrub up the seats a little bit. The cylinders look really good, except for the one that's had a little bit of detonation to it. I don't know if there was a piece of junk in there or something has caused some detonation in the number 3 piston. After I cleaned up the ring ridge, or you know, the carbon ridge up at the top of the cylinders, there's pretty much nothing there. It's nice and clean. You know, there's just the ever so slight. So I'm going to say that this engine has not had a whole lot of miles on it since it was rebuilt, but I'm going to guess that it was run on 100 low lead, And one thing to keep in mind with 100 low lead is it's got about 5 times the amount of lead in it that leaded car gas back in the 80s actually had. So if you do need to run it as a lead substitute, dilute it down like 5 to 1 in with regular unleaded or premium unleaded fuel. Well, let's use the crank-o-matic here and we'll see if we can get this thing to run over. And I'm going to spray the pistons down a little bit, just kind of rinse everything off as it's spinning with some brake cleaner, and we'll see if we can get the last of the dregs off of there. Now I've taken the ground wire off because it was attached to the head, but I do have a jumper lead going over to the other side, so hopefully it is going to turn. Just about out of brake cleaner. But everything looks pretty good. I think we're about ready to start bolting some stuff together here. I don't have time today to finish the job, but I think we can squirt a little bit of oil in on those pistons so that they don't run dry, and the head at least bolted back on. Let me grab some sealant, the gasket kit, and oh gee, we still got to clean up that head. I haven't done anything with it yet. Let me get on that and I'll bring you guys back in a bit. Got the head cleaned up. Oh boy, in around where the valves are there was a whole bunch of crud. We still got a little bit of stuff on there. Needs its final wipe down before it goes on the car. But definitely taking the wire wheel to it and scrubbing at those valve pockets was well worth the effort. This thing probably wouldn't have run all that well with all that crap in around there. We got our gasket. It says front Velcro, made in USA. I know that means a lot to American viewers. They like to see that sort of thing, and let's face it, probably means it's a little better quality. Let me get some bolts figured out here and we'll start getting things ready to lift this head in. I don't know whether I'll be able to record that or not, but if I can, I will. Well, hopefully that'll work for you guys to see what's going on. One thing we need to keep in mind with Flathead Ford V8s is pretty well all of the head bolts go into a passage of some sort, either water or exhaust. So I've got some, well, that certainly made a mess. Half a bottle of aviation gasket goo down in behind the battery tray. Not good. It's good stuff, but it is not fun to work with. It's like molasses. I need to disconnect this coil. Hopefully we can convince the radiator hose to come back up through this hole without too much difficulty. You know what? I'm going to lift that battery out of there so that we don't accidentally short across it. I don't feel like welding with 6 volts. Front, and I'm guessing that's supposed to be up because those holes seem to line up. We have a long bolt. And a short bolt. Now let's see if we can get this on there. I did clean out the worst of the scale out of the water jacket, so hopefully that's not going to fall down and cause us any issues. But with this going on dry, hopefully that's not going to be a problem. If we had a bunch of gasket glue on here because it was a used head gasket, we might be having some problems. Well, those two started. We need to get some spark plug wires moved around the other side of this hose and get some more head bolts put in. Let me work on that. I'll bring you guys back once I got that done. We got everything kind of roughed in here, and I ran them in just so they touched, kind of a thing, for the most part, with the impact. Now we'll take them up to about 30 foot-pounds, and then we've got to run them up to 65. You guys are kind of standing in the way. I think I'm going to move you, and I'll bring you back when I've got everything torqued down, and then we're ready to continue on. Well guys, we are bolted all back together. Unfortunately, I am late for a family commitment already, and I've been trying to get this done, but I have used up all my spare time. I'll come back to this tomorrow. We got another side that needs to have the same treatment, and then we'll run a compression test on this thing and see if it'll start. Until tomorrow. Hey guys, we're back working on the 53 Monarch. Mother Nature is not really cooperating weather-wise today. It's been raining quite a bit this morning. But I wanted to take a little bit of time and at least get a compression check done on this engine after doing all that work yesterday. I have sprayed a whole bunch of lithium grease down into those cylinders just to lube the rings up really good. Hopefully that's going to give us some better compression ratios than what we were seeing before we tore the engine down. Let me get the compression tester hooked up and we'll run through these first 4 cylinders real quick. This is number 1, wide open throttle. Well, I won't say that that's spectacular, but we're in the 80s. Oh boy. Okay, well let's try next cylinder. Number 2, wide open throttle. Oh boy. 120, oh. 110, I guess that is. I can deal with that. Let's try that and see what it does. Wide open throttle. And again, we're still at 50. But now that we've got 2 pistons that are kind of sort of saying that we've got, nominal values, 120 or 110 or 100, whatever it is, 115, that is very acceptable. I'll take that. That's where I expect to see this cold. Number 1 piston being at 80, that's kind of at the minimal level to run. These 2 being in the 50s is not a good sign. Looks like we got some stuck rings, and I think the valves are okay, at least on this side. So some stuck rings, and we'll, if we can get it running, and put a little bit of like sea foam or something directly into the carburetor and let it run in there, I think it'll break those rings free them up, get them working properly, because there's really no wear in those cylinders at all, so it's got to be stuck rings. Anyways, let me continue on instead of talking to you, and we'll get this taken care of. Okay, we got a decent set of jumper cables on this thing now, and I hit the button once, and oh boy. Let's see if that's going to do anything for us. That certainly sounds a lot better. Hoo, 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 hoo. Ooh. That's progress. Need some more barbecue sauce. We are certainly making some progress here. The battery's just about had it, but more fuel. Got a little battery problem with the camera. Hopefully I didn't lose too much, but I got a fuel line hooked up to the fuel pump, and it has come around and hooked up to the carburetor, and it actually appears to be feeding the carburetor. So that's good. And we almost can run the car off of the 6 volts. We're not quite there yet, but the engine is coming around. We'll try it one more time here and see what happens. Give her a few squirts to prime. Oh. It almost wants to go on 6 volts, but not quite there. How's that idling? Well. Ooh, that thing sounds mean. Let's try it again on 6 volts. Nope, not quite enough. Okay, let's get it fired up right on 12 volts, and then I'm going to squirt some of the seafoam stuff down into the carburetor. We'll see if we can clean up that engine a little bit. Well, I think that answers our question of will it run anyways. I don't know how much more I want to run it. We don't have any cooling in this thing yet. I certainly don't want to do any damage. That's definitely made some progress. Well guys, I think we're going to take this for the win. Something interesting I've noticed. Oh, it quit this time. The last time I fired the car up, it kept running after I disconnected the battery. That runs really nice. I think we're going to take that for the win. I don't want to put coolant in it just yet. This side of the engine still needs to get stripped down and cleaned up. New head gasket, get all the lead and garbage out from around the valves. This side is good, I think. I haven't done the compression test now that I got it running really well. We'll try that. I think that'll be in the next video. Oh, see? See? So it's even charging. Oil pressure is not great. I imagine it's a little warm, but considering there's no coolant in it, that's not going to register right. I don't know whether these gauges are functional. There seems to be a wire off that runs over to them, and I haven't figured it out yet. That's kind of why I got all the dash apart here. But the fact that that thing runs off of the key switch, or runs off the generator like that, is pretty impressive. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Greatly appreciate you guys taking the time to watch the video. I think this one's probably going to be a bit of a long one. If you got this far in the video, can you give me a thumb up, give me a like? And if you haven't already done so, consider subscribing to the channel. Love to have you come back, check out some more Doug's Messy Garage. Maybe ring that bell icon so you get notified when I post new content. And we'll catch you guys in the next mess. Thanks for watching.